Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Josh, joined as ever by Scott Tailford. Because do you remember the Google Stadia, Scott?
No, not whatsoever, to be honest.
I don't think anyone does, and I kind of feel bad for everyone who has actually picked up this console because it has been quite a long time since anything has been announced, and the 3-month renewal date is up, and there's been a whole bunch of backlash towards how Google has handled this platform, what they've got in the pipeline, and whether they're just kind of abandoning it at all. You have the facts and figures to back this up, but it doesn't seem promising.
No, there are many facts and figures. Like you said, it feels less like they've sort of, handled it as opposed to just sort of folded a little paper boat and then just pushed it out into the river and watched it slowly melt and sink as people sort of tried to board it and were unable to find any purchase. Now, the thing with Stadia is that even at the beginning, we didn't really believe it was going to work. I don't think people looked at even the reveal event and went, that's not going to work. Google have a terrible track record going forward. But the thing on the official Google Stadia Reddit, there was a user called Gazoogle who basically just took to Reddit to just sort of do a constructive criticism post, bringing everything together, just saying, look, there's been no official word from Google in almost 70 days at this point. Although straight after that, Google then put something out going, hey, by the way, new games are coming. But those two games are literally Metro Exodus and Gylt, G-Y-L-T.
Yeah.
Which Gylt is the only Stadia exclusive. It's from Tequila Works. It's the people that made Rhyme and the Sexy Brutal.
It reminds me when the Wii U was first coming out, and it was saying, look, we've got Mass Effect, we've got Arkham City. Remember when you played that last year? Do you want to play it again, but worse?
It's not a good time. The last major AAA game was Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which was back in October, and obviously that game was such a tie fight in itself that Ubisoft have apologized for it.
Yep.
So the whole idea of this all streaming future, and even then there's missing features. The whole idea that every new game would be coming to the platform hasn't come true, and the idea that what is there you'll be able to play it on your phone, you can't do. The only phone that's supported is Google's Pixel phone, which I think 3 people have, and so sorry if you're a Pixel owner, but I don't think that's enough to support the feature in itself anyway.
No.
So even on that front, even on the close to being misadvertised, there's all that stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, as well as that, they have 120 games that they said are going to come out at some point, but they haven't announced any of them to my knowledge, which also kind of sucks. So you just kind of sat there waiting for the content to come, knowing that it will come in some form, but not knowing whether you should get excited about it. I think this is a sort of breaking point because, like it said in the post, the renewal is coming up, and maybe that's why Google have, finally jumped in. Like, they realized that people are going to either jump ship or they're going to continue, so they need something. They need something, anything.
And their answer is Metro Exodus and Gylt.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not going to make you come back to it.
No.
But I mean, it didn't launch with any exclusives either. Like it always had the thing is, if you look at Destiny 2's player base, I love Bungie put out that the Stadia numbers of the people that are playing Destiny 2 accounts for 1.4% of that game's entire player base.
Yes.
Very, very, very small. And also, as of it was at the start of January, they put out some statistics for the game. There was only 8,000 people playing, which sounds like a lot, but it's paltry compared to the overall amount of people playing on PS4, Xbox, and whatever. I was going to say PC. Can't remember if Destiny's on PC at this point.
It is. I'm pretty sure it is.
It's not on Stadia. Well, it's on.
Well,
the players
might as well not be on Stadia. Is the point.
So, but I think if you look, Destiny 2 went free, and if it can only attract around 8K people, that's kind of indicative of the amount of people overall that have access to Stadia that want to keep playing.
Yeah.
Which is to say that they don't.
Well, that's it. The sales for the thing in general didn't seem to be that strong. I think there was a news post about how the companion app, the people who had downloaded it, halved more or less instantly.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where I do want to see it succeed, and I want the player base to grow, and I want to see the people who have invested into it have their investment rewarded. But at the same time, it feels like classic Google. They always come up with these Google enterprises because they've got more money than sense, and they can. Then they push them out, like you said, in a little paper boat. Don't market them really. Don't even bother making them all that good. And then they're like, it's falling apart.
They assume that people will care just because it's Google, but I mean, Google. I'm going to get to some stuff that they've killed off because they have way more projects in the Google crypt than they have stuff that they've managed to keep going. But in regards to the big old Reddit thread that got out there, Google Stadia's community manager did chime in and just didn't still say he didn't have anything to announce, which is like, how do you not have anything at all? Like, if you have a new gaming platform, how do you not have anything that you can say?
Yeah.
But he just went out there and did a statement, just saying, look, we hear you, we're feeding handing everything back to the Stadia team. I have nothing to announce at this point, but I'm jotting down all the feedback. And it's not a grassroots crowdfunded startup. You're Google and you're trying to launch a console ostensibly.
That's the frustrating thing, because obviously it's not like the community manager's fault. It's just what they're getting fed, but at the same time, they should have something that they're getting fed in the first place.
Well, you would think so. I mean, if you're someone who's bought into this, they had all the different versions of it at launch, the Premier Edition, the Pro Edition, and if you forked out for the Pro one, what have you really got? For the most part, initial sort of reports came in back at launch that the Stadia couldn't even support 4K streaming without lagging or without it de-resing stuff, without it not loading properly. So there's all that stuff too, that even if you believed in the whole Silicon Valley promise that it'll be the future, it can't even deliver on its base form.
Well, Scott Tilford, here's the thing. Because I'm perhaps gullible, I at one point thought that Fallout 76 was going to be a good idea. And when this was announced,
Who are you, Todd Howard?
Yeah, exactly, apparently. Yes. If you go back through all of the Google Stadia videos we did before launch, I was actually quite cautiously optimistic. I thought if it went well, it could work and it could push the industry forward into some new, interesting directions. And what I was most convinced on was that Google seemed to have been treating it as a proper kind of console launch. It didn't feel like something that was half-assed. They were hosting these, conferences. They were getting picked up by, websites like us and other websites.
They're buying all these different devs.
They're buying all these different devs. They're in bed with Ubisoft. It felt like they were making a real push. And then when it finally came down to pull the trigger, they were shooting blanks. It's like it would have been fine. I could sit here and write it off as yet another Google experiment had they not done that. But because they got me, who wouldn't have never have bought this in the first place, at least cautiously optimistic, I feel like they've done a little poo-poo all over my nice shirt.
Your lovely little hoodie. I think 2 words, Mr. JB. Google Glass. Which was a big old project, tech demos, actual hardware products that we were it's the future, Google Glass, AR technology, completely abandoned.
Well, that's it. You know what, Scott Tilbert?
Go on.
I also got really excited for Google Glass, and look how that turned out, eh? I just keep getting mugged off by Google over and over again.
I made a big old list of the things that Google have cancelled. I'll get to that, because honestly, there's too many to, to recap right here, right now. There are 2 dedicated websites to how many things Google have killed. Killedbygoogle.com and the Google Cemetery, if you want to check them out yourself. We'll get there in a sec, but the stuff that I think is worth pointing out is that there was another report from GDC where all the different developers were asked, look, which platforms are you prioritizing? And the vast majority of them, 59% were looking to PC, 39% satanically were looking to mobile. Jesus, whatever. 11% were on PlayStation 5. I mean, the thing is, when you get to the consoles, it's going to be way less. The vast majority of things, they're going to get developed on PC anyway. So for me, this research is slightly skewed, because I think that if you're a developer attending GDC and you get asked what platform are you coding on or prioritizing, very little of them are going to say PS4 or Xbox, even though so many games come from PC across to consoles anyway in the long run. But yeah, 59% for PC, 39% for mobile, 11% for PS5, 9% for Xbox Series X, 6% for Google Stadia.
It doesn't bode well, does it? Again, going back to what they were saying when they were getting in bed with these developers and stuff, I thought they would have had stuff in the pipeline, but it kind of feels like, in contrary to what Microsoft and Sony seem to be, what they were scared of, because I mean, they announced that potential partnership. It all seemed to be in response to Google's, supposed dominance and infringement on the space. But now it kind of feels like that storm has passed. They realized they might have overreacted a bit and gone, no, you know what? People love consoles. We're going to continue developing for consoles.
And people love reliable game feeds. They don't want to even take the risk of something lagging, which is the main thing that puts me off. What are you up for that?
Well, this is what I'm going to compare it to, right?
Go on.
Because when the PlayStation VR came out, that thing had no games, but the tech itself was really good, and I think the people who bought into it on day one, like me, had more patience for that kind of stuff, because you knew it was experimental, you knew you weren't going to get the big releases at first, but at least what you had, the scraps that you had, worked well, and you were impressed by it, whereas when you got Google Stadia, it sounds like the thing, it just in general doesn't work all that well, and it's not a satisfying bit of kit. And then you you add that to the fact that there's no games, the fact that the communication's been so poor, and it makes this horrible kind of thing when you don't see a future for it.
No, and if you put your money into this, at some point you need a product to work on the other side of it. It can't just be, well, it'll work eventually, or like, and then also like in regards to the way that they marketed it, like you said, they got out there and did the the big live conference thing where they said this is the future, this is going to be the way that we're all going to play going forward. They treat it like a full AAA premium product, and then it's more like a weird Kickstarter. It's more like, hey, you're in on the ground level, and we're going to support this going forward, and we're going to change this going forward, but none of that communication comes, none of that community aspect is there whatsoever, which is what you need to get something like this, over time. But also in regards to PSVR, at least you knew that Sony and PlayStation were behind it, and they would get there eventually.
Yeah.
As opposed to Google, which just bin everything off after about a month. I'm going to quickly read off some stuff from these, like the Google killedbygoogle.com. Google Glass we mentioned before. Google Plus, which was their answer to Facebook and MySpace.
Remember this?
Social media platform.
Oh, I signed up for a thing on that about 10 years ago.
I'll give you a funny story. I signed up to Google Plus, and I tweeted when I got it, and I said, "Oh, Google Plus looks quite promising." They retweeted it, saying, "Oh, welcome aboard, Scott." I deleted it by the time I saw their retweet because I just went, "No one's going to be using this." I've been looking back on my feed and going, "Oh, cheers, Google." And they're like, "Oh, welcome aboard." I've already gone. I've already left. I'm
on that paper boat you pushed out. I'm sinking down.
It's full of holes, mate. And so I deleted it by the time they recognised my contributor.
Good.
Contributants, I was going to say. But yeah, Google Plus was one thing. Google Glass was another. Google Hangouts, which was their sort of major DMing platform. Mm-hmm. That only got canned at the end of last year. But Google Hangouts was another one. Google Inbox, which was their sort of revolutionary new way to email, completely got binned off. And also one of the biggest ones in terms of the amount of time and effort they put into it was YouTube Gaming, which obviously factors in YouTube. YouTube's owned by Google. And in terms of things that would be signed off by overseers at the top, YouTube Gaming was the most weirdly ill thought out, broken. Like, what even was that? It was just YouTube dark mode.
Is that gone? I didn't even realise that had gone.
It barely lived, but now it's dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I always saw that. I mean, we work on YouTube and we do gaming videos, and I didn't even know what that thing was or how it worked.
I remember at one point I got an email from them, from YouTube, saying like, hey, one of your videos is like trending on YouTube Gaming, and I clicked on it, and it just took me to this weird dashboard where everything was quite dark, and it was like a bunch of different like sort of thumbnails for different live streamers. It was very confusing, Josh. And I'm 30 now. I can't keep up with all these different things. And I sort of like clicked on it, going like, well, this is gonna be the future, and there's all these different ways to connect, but it didn't offer anything. Not to hop on it too much because YouTube's obviously culpable too, but like in regards to the amount of things that Google have gone, this is the revolution.
That's it. I mean, considering like we said, Google is so big, they have so many resources, they try so many different things, but they just fail to stick with them, and it's frustrating to see because I do want to see a big company start making waves and start challenging the current rivalry we have with Sony and Microsoft, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to be Google at all the Google Stadia. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you pick up a Google Stadia at launch, and have you been frustrated with the output that it's received so far? Either way, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more list news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh.
No, it's not.
You've been watching WhatCulture.
No.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Remember that console with the crank?
No.
I want that.
I don't know what that is. Google Crank?